jebe tra no par jebe ke tarba da tam je kembe bardu chopra jeba tam je ge se jebe manang kada nyambe senchen tam che dewa tam ten tung ya tam de ne de la na me pa ya dabra so be chan chu ren bu je to pra jo da la dawa jebe ra no par jebe ge tarba da tam che kembe bardu chopra jeba tam che ge se jebe manang kada nyambe senchen tam che dewa tam ten tung ya tam de ne de la na me pa ya dabra so be chan chu ren bu je to pra jo da la dawa jebe ra no par jebe ge tarba da tam che kembe bardu chopra jeba tam je ge se je pe manang kadang nyam pe sen chen tam je dewa dan den dung yao dan de ne de la na me pa yang da bra so pe chan chu ren po je tom bra je de je de sama ge gi bar du long a yi sum ke wa la ko ma shi bar du long a yi sum ke wa la ko de de ring ne sun te ne ma chan ta sam gi bar du long a yi sum ke wa la ko Sanje Jodan Zogi Jonam La Chanchu Bardu Dane Kepsu Je Dagi Jinsu Gebe Sonang Ki Drola Penchir Sanje Drubrashu Sanje Jodan Zogi Jonam La Chanchu Bardu Dane Kepsu Je Dagi Jinsu Gebe Sonang Ki Drola Penchir Sanje Drubrashu Sanje Jodan Zogi Jonam La Chanchu Bardu Dane Kepsu Je Dagi Jinsu Gebe Sonang Ki Drola Penchir Sanje Drubrashu Manang Kadang Nyampe Senchen Tamche Dewa Dang Dewen Gindan Tempura Gyuchi Dung Yao Dang Dung Yao Gi Gyudang Trawa Gyuchi Dung Yao Mepe Dewa Dang Me Trawa Gyuchi Nering Chadang Nidang Trawa Tam Nyong La Nepra Gyuchi Manang nang kadang nyampe senjen tamche dewa dang dewe kindan tempura girji Tung yao tang tung yao ki kyu tang trawa girji tung yao me pe dewa tang me trawa girji ne ring cha tang ni tang trawa tang nyong la tempura girji ma nang kadang nyampe senjen tamche dewa dang Dewe gyundan tempra gyurji, dunya dang dunya gi, gyudan drawa gyurji, dunya mebe dewa dame drawa gyurji, niring chadang nidang drawe tang nyong lan nebra gyurji. In all the worlds of the 10 directions reside Tathagatas of the 3 times. Before each of you, lions among humans, I prostrate joyfully with body, speech, and mind. By the power of this aspiration to noble deeds, all conquerors appear vividly in my mind. With as many bodies as there are atoms in all lands, I prostrate to all you conquerors. In each atom are Buddhas numberless as atoms, all in the midst of the heirs of the Buddhas. Thus I conceive of this Dharma Dhatu as completely filled with conquerors in this way, with infinite oceans of praise and oceans of diverse melodies. I sing the excellent qualities of all you conquerors and praise all of you gone to bliss. With the best flowers and best garlands, best music, ointments, and excellent parasols, finest lamps and superior incense I offer to you conquerors. With excellent garments and best fragrances and sandalwood powder heap high as Mount Meru, all wondrous offering perfectly arranged I offer to you conquerors. These vast and unequal offerings to each and every one of you conquerors with the power of conviction in noble deeds I prostrate and offer to all you conquerors. All the harmful deeds that I have done with my body, speech, and mind, under the power of desire, hatred, and ignorance, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in all the meritorious deeds of all conquerors in the 10 directions and the heirs of the Buddhas, solitary realizers, hearers still in training and beyond, and all wandering beings. You who are lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who have unobstructedly attained Buddhahood through the stages of Bodhi, all you who are my protectors, please turn the unexhaled wheel of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly beseech you who may intend to manifest final nirvana. Please remain for as many aeons as there are atoms in the world, for the happiness and well-being of all wandering beings. Whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate to complete Bodhi. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain, fog, continent, sun, and moon, I visualize as a Buddha land and offer it. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To the Gurus who possess the 3 kayas, I offer the outer, inner, secret, and thusness offerings. With my body, wealth, and all phenomenal existence, please grant the unsurpassed supreme attainment. Whatever slight virtue I may have gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate it to complete Bodhi. Om Guru Deva Dhagini Ranamandala Praticha Soham. Please turn the wheel of Dharma of the greater, lesser, and common vehicles in accordance with the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings. 多吉长见地利那罗达玛米达波巴多吉登公干顿顺登扎维拉美小萨就拉玛伊当周江拉索瓦德索达吉坚决罗卡登给诺梅上人给到本都中央拉给索梅干万多吉长。帕吉登公波小罗多多他都上有叫来美坚决罗西都这坚能给莫本身的刚生的登陆都不坚决罗坚决坚长上本马给啥都不了。有生就给我这年本嘛就那学学的广东看着嘛不过来的给就是他这个经济垃圾学生说过的本嘛是的后面就给一个不然那都是上节工经我呢而且就跟我说东这边早为那没想了说嘛的So good morning and good evening to everyone. We are towards the end of the chapter that is the chapter on patience, chapter 6 of the Bodhicharyavatar.
各位晚上好，我们现在已经到了就是安忍这一个章节的尾声。
Just to remind everyone, the context of the sevenfold puja that we recite at the beginning of each class, that is emphasized also in the Bodhichitta in chapter 2 and 3, in the chapters on confessing, what's translated in chapter 2 as confessing, and chapter 3 taking hold of bodhicitta. So in those two chapters, you can basically see the sevenfold puja considered by Shantideva as the foundation, as the necessary, the expression usually used is accumulation. So this accumulation is referring to having enough resources, having enough fuel to become the basis for our pursuit of the Bodhisattva path.
Dr. Lai? Yeah, sorry, can you repeat again? I didn't catch the content. Regarding starting from chapter 2 and 3.
Chapter 2 and 3 has the sevenfold puja in them. And the sevenfold puja, as we can see from chapter 2 and 3, is given as Shantideva as the basis for practicing the Bodhisattva path. This basis is the fuel or the merit that is necessary in order to practice the Bodhisattva path.
Okay, thank you. 那就是刚刚我们持诵的这一个七支供养里面，其实在这个入菩萨行论的第2到第3章，其实也是有提到。那第2的就是忏悔业障，那第3章则是着重在这个受持菩提心的这样的一个内容，然后这2章的内容是作为修持这一个菩萨道上非常重要的一个功德的资粮。
So in this sevenfold puja, with those 7 elements, the Buddhas in particular, and then more generally, the Buddhas and the great Bodhisattvas, the great Arhats, all these sublime beings, they are the objects, so to say, of the sevenfold puja.
那在这个七支供养里头，就是里面的7个元素，然后以佛就是菩萨这一些圣者为整个就是修持的对象。
we're offering these 7 branches, we're practicing these 7 branches, these 7 elements in relation to them or with them as the reference point.
然后我们就是供养这7支，是以他们为我们的一个就是参考点。
So this speaks to the importance of having the proper reference point. Proper, in the sense of like what can skillfully, effectively inspire us to embark on this path, to stay on this path, and to complete this path.
然后就是这也提到，也反映出就是拥有一个正确的、可靠的这样的一个参考是多么的重要。然后是引领我们怎么很善巧的，就可以启发我们去开启，然后安住，并且完成这整个修行道的。
Sometimes I think in the presentation of Buddhism in the West, and also increasingly I see that even in the presentation of Buddhism in Asia, maybe because like for the West, there's too much baggage associated with previous religious baggage. And then maybe in the East, teachers are seeing that in Asia, people are too much in the mode of kind of like superstition, and so there is sometimes an emphasis on the Buddhist path that seems to discount the possibility or the necessity to be inspired by the examples of the Buddhists. And so that sometimes is downplayed, and it might, work for some people. Somewhere along the way, it is going to feel a little dry.
那在整个西方的这样的一个佛法的传授或者是传播来讲，就是因为西方本身就是也拥有它本身的一个宗教的一个负担。就是它原本宗教的一个负担，所以当在西方传教的这样的一些师长，当他看到在东方可能有比较多迷信的成分的时候，然后就会看到其中的一些过患，就是会在受到佛陀启发这样的一个可能性上面就会大打折扣。
I will feel a little dry, or feel a little lonely, or feel a little like, you have to do it all by yourself. But that's certainly not the case. Actually, it is evident, in all the living traditions of Buddhist practice, that in order to embark on the path, to stay on the path, and to achieve the results of the path, it is said that being inspired, which another word for that is faith, being inspired, having confidence through the examples of the awakened beings, that it can sustain us, it becomes necessary. So for example, in one important sutra called the Avatamsaka Sutra, it says, this inspiration, this faith, and this inspiration, this faith is the mother of the mirrored virtues, mother of the 10,000 mirrored virtues. So all virtues can be developed on the basis of being inspired, on the basis of having faith.
然后，所以就是在西方，可能就是整个学习佛法的感觉，就是相对的比较枯燥，比较孤独，然后好像是什么事情都需要，就完全需要依靠自己。但是其实，在整个所有的佛教传统里面，是很清楚的显示说， 从整个开启，然后到安住，到最后能够成就整体的修道的一个结果，其实这个信心就是能够深受启发，这样的一个信心其实是非常重要的。就透过这一些觉醒的圣者，他们的身教，他们的一个榜样，然后我们向他们学习，就对他们充满信心来学习，其实才能够让我们在整个修道上更加的稳定的安住。进步，然后这一个信心其实是，如果根据华严经来说，其实是信是一切功德，就是信为道源功德母，所以信是一切功德的最重要的这个根源。
Now, having said that, I also don't want you to have the impression or the feeling like, oh, if I don't have this kind of inspiration, if I don't feel this kind of faith, I don't know, maybe I feel it, maybe I don't know, I don't feel it, and if I'm unsure, maybe I don't have it, oh, then I have to leave. That's also not the case. Then I have to leave, then there is no hope.
那并不是说希望就是让大家有一个错误的理解，就是说如果我对于就是佛法没有信心的话，那我就应该要离开，并不是那么一回事。
Because faith and inspiration also isn't like something that just fall out of the sky and it'll either hit you or not hit you.
然后就是信心或者是就启发，并不是就从天而降的，就是偶然的就到达就出现。
But it can grow, it can be developed.
它是能够培养的，可以滋长。
All I'm doing here is to remind you not to close that door for that to grow and for that to develop.
然后，那我现在在做的就是希望大家不要去，就是关上这一扇门，让自己
So
有
your
这样的空
practice of
间。
the path, should not be too macho, too emotionless, too cool,
就是让你的整个修道不会太过的枯燥，它或者是太过的没有情感。
There should be softness involved. There should be warmth involved.
应该是有柔软的，应该有温暖的。
Don't close those doors. Don't impede those elements from being developed as skillful elements that is necessary for the path.
然后不要关上这样的门，不要就是去阻挡，就培养这样的一些特质，就是信心的特质，作为一个善巧的一些元素来培养我们的整个修道。
So with regards to the fourth noble truth, the noble truth of the path, the Buddha says the path has to be developed. So the path has to be developed is not talking about the path needing to be invented. The Buddha has already shown the path, and many generations after the Buddha have continued to show the path right down to our own time. When he says that the path needs to be developed, it means it is not yet the path until it turns up in our own lives, until all these different elements that we're learning begin to arise as our own process. So the path needs to be developed because this path we should not relate to as if it is a set of beliefs, it's a set of dogma that over time you brainwash yourself into accepting them. But rather, this path needs to be developed in terms of we need to put into practice. At first, we test, then we see. And then if the results come the way that it's predicted to come, then we gain a little bit of confidence. Then we test further, test and see if it works. Not even test and see if it is believable. Yeah, those two attitudes are very different. Test to see if it is believable is about. So eventually, I will believe unbelievable things. Not like that, but rather test and see if it is effective. So then when you test and you see that it is effective, then you put more of your heart into using it to counteract the mental defilements, to counteract the adventitious kleshas, the afflictive emotions.
就关于就是四圣谛，然后里面的内容就是我们知道，就是道是要修的，而这边并不是说就是要去发明一个什么道，就是佛陀已经就是在无数的这个不同的传承一代一代的祖师已经就是证明了这个道理，就不是我们发明出来的，而是道要去修，其实是说。就是让这一个道能够出现在我们的生命里，然后就是让我们所有一切的学习变成了我们内在的这样的一个心理过程，然后不是说我们修道就是去培养这样的一种信仰，或者是去维持一套怎么样的一个戒条，或者是不断的被就洗脑，并不是那么一回事，而是我们实际怎么去修持。然后首先我们是先去测试，然后再去观察，看看它的结果是否如所说般的那样的一个结果。如果当我们去测试，然后我们看到它确实是可行的，我们就进一步的让在生活中去落实它。如果我们发现它是有效的，然后我们就放更多的心思，更加的用心的去支持，用它来对治我们一切的烦恼，而不是把它当做一种信仰的对象。
Yeah, so with that spirit, with that understanding, let's now continue with the text. I believe we have reached the section that starts on verse 76.
那以这样的一个精神，我们继续接下来的一个讨论。那我们应该是到第76节。
So verse 76 to 86 in Khenpo Kunpel's commentary, he identifies this section as Shantideva teaching us to develop Kshanti, to exercise Kshanti with regards to those whom we perceive to be supporting those we don't like, to be supporting those people who might harm us. So simply in the old commentary, it's called enemies. Like I said today, most of us don't walk around having this idea that, oh, I have enemies, right? But it's not, it doesn't need to be so like enemies. It's like basically whoever we perceive and experience to impede our attainment of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as they say in the United States. Whoever we perceive, to block or impede that, that's what we mean by enemies. So here it says we should exercise Kshanti towards those whom we feel, we perceive are supporting our enemies.
那在这边就是从76到86集，然后就是看破空飘，就是把这一段，然后就归纳为就是吉天菩萨是在引导我们怎么去培养安忍，然后是对于怎么样的一个对象培养安忍，就是对于那些我们就是认为他是支持或者是护持我们的敌人，然后所谓的敌人并不是表面的意思的一个样子，而是实际上任何就是我们认为会阻碍障碍我们整个佛法的修持的对象。所以在这一边最主要谈的就是我们对于那些支持我们的敌人的这一些对象，我们要修持安忍。
I don't know if you remember, but earlier on in the commentary of Khenpo Kunpel, he basically says that there are three groups that Shantideva are addressing in terms of us practicing Kshanti towards. One group, he says, are those that we perceive to be our enemies, with that definition of enemies I just gave you. Those we perceive to be our enemies. Then those whom we perceive to be enemies to our friends and family. And so that's the second group. Then the third group is those who are friends or friendly to our enemies. So these are the three groups, he says. And then within the three groups, he further divides them. So altogether, I think it came up with 12, and then from 12 it got multiplied to 24. I don't even remember how that number is reached at this point. But basically, I would say, three groups, Yeah. Those that we think, are, against our interest. Those who are against the interests of those we are interested in, we love, we care about. And then those who are for the interests of those who are against us. Three groups.
之前Campbell Campbell 他曾经就归纳3个类别的这一些对象是我们需要去休息安忍的。这3个对象就是我们视为第一组，我们直接的一个敌人。这个直接的敌人就是对我们的利益产生障碍的人，就是会妨碍我们修行的人。然后第二组的就是这一些我们的亲友、我们的眷属、我们的亲朋好友、眷属们的敌人。第3个则是就对于这一些敌人就非常友好、非常支持的这一类人。然后现在所以是分成这3个。然后当然他也进一步的把它瓜分为12，然后再进一步的乘2，然后就变成24。但是这些细节基本上就是3个主要的区块。
So now we're dealing with those in the third group in this section.
那现在我们就是处理的是第3类别。
Or rather, our reaction and our attitude towards the third group, meaning the third group are those who are helping, supporting, friendly to those who don't support us, not friendly to us, working against our interest.
然后或者是就任何我们的态度上，就是会认为这一些人他们是支持、帮助或者是对我们的敌人友好的这一群人。
So let us read verses 76 to 86. When others take delight in giving praise to those endowed with talents, why, O mind, do you not find a joy likewise in praising them? The pleasure that is gained therefrom itself gives rise to blameless happiness. It is urged on us by all the holy ones, and is the perfect way of winning others. But they are the ones who will have the happiness, you say. If this then is a joy you would resent, abandon paying wages and returning favors. You will be the loser, both in this life and the next. When praise is heaped upon your qualities, you are keen that others should be pleased thereby. But when the compliment is paid to others, you feel no inclination to rejoice as well. You who wanted the happiness of beings have wished to be enlightened for their sake. So why should others irk you when they find some pleasure for themselves? And if you claim to wish that beings be enlightened, honored by the triple world, when petty marks of favor come their way, why are you so discomforted? When dependents who rely on you, to whom you are obliged to give support, find for themselves the means of livelihood, will you not be happy? Will you once again be angry? If even this you do not want for beings, how could you want Buddhahood for them? And how can anyone have bodhicitta who is angry when
是
another
否和
prospers.
相干，
If someone else
和
receives a
不
gift,
弃
or
善
if that gift
福善
stays in the
信心
benefactor's
积
house,
极的，
in neither
不
case will
守
it be
己
yours.
的
So
财
given or
和
withheld,
不自
why
胜
is it
者
your concern? All your merit and the faith of others, all your sterling qualities, why throw them all away? Not holding on to what might bring you riches, tell me, why are you not angry at yourself? Not only do you feel no sorrow for the evils you have done, you even wish to match yourself with those whose merit has been earned. Yeah, so these are the verses here. So I don't know, frankly, how well this fit Khenpo Kumpel's category, but it's okay. This is Khenpo Kumpel's commentary, or any commentary, right? We should really relate to commentaries as attempts to help us navigate the text, and not get, too hung up on the details.
那就是就是李博士说他不太确定，就是到底这样的一个这一段是怎么符合就看不公票的归类。但是我们常常要记得，就是这一些注释其实它都是帮助我们怎么更好的去理解经文，而不是被它困着。
So anyway, 76, when others take delight in giving praise to those endowed with talents, why, O mind, do you not find a joy likewise in praising them? So this is talking about, when we observe someone else being praised, especially though someone else are the people that we don't get along with, the people that we're critical about, the people that we don't like for this or that reason. During those times, when we see them being praised, so Shantideva directly addressed the mind and say, "Oh mind, how come you don't feel joy?" Almost kind of rhetorically asking the mind, "Hey, mind, how come you don't feel joy?" With the idea that Shantideva says, you should also take delight.
那在这一集我们就看到，就是说，当我们看到他人就受到称赞的时候，那特别是那些我们不喜欢的，特别是那些我们因为各个不同的原因感到不愉悦，然后不欢喜的，然后就是吉天菩萨在这一边就直对这个心，然后就提问，向心提问，为何你感受不到愉悦呢？
Because taking delight or experiencing pleasure or joy, right? Whenever we have that experience, it's good for us. It's good for us. Especially this kind of joy or delight. Meaning, when we see someone else being praised, if somehow we are able to feel the joy that is there by the person doing the praising and by the person experiencing the praising, if we can rejoice in that, regardless of who is being praised, we gain, is what Shantideva is saying. So 77, he says, the pleasure that is gained from that gives rise to blameless happiness. Why is it blameless happiness? Because when we rejoice in the joy that we see going on, someone joyfully praising someone else, and someone joyfully accepting the praise, right? When we rejoice in that, it is called a blameless happiness because there's no ego involved. And there's no manipulation involved. When you are being praised, there is a little danger there.
When you're being praised and you enjoy that, there's a little danger there. Your arrogance might grow. So there's a little blame hiding in the corner. Or when you're giving praise, when you're giving praise, there's also a little blame, so to say, hiding in the corner. Because our praising people might be, due to some kind of benefit we think we're going to get when we do that, or some kind of hidden agenda, or maybe sometimes the agenda is not so hidden, right? Whereas rejoicing in other people being praised, other people praising, other people being supported, other people supporting, is blameless because it's free from impure motivation. It's free from arrogance.
那因为当我们感到高兴的时候，当我们拥有这样的一个经验，其实对我们自身是好的。就是当我们看到别人被称赞，或者是别人称赞他人，然后如果我们真心可以感受到这样的一种愉悦，这样的快乐，无论对方是谁，其实都是对我们自身有利益的，因为它会升起一个没有任何杂染的，就是不会被责备的一种快乐。那为什么不会被责备？是因为里头并没有任何的，就是我慢涉及在其中，也没有任何的这一种就是里面任何的心机。就如果我们自己去称赞别人，然后我们或者是我们自己被称赞，然后我们享受其中的话，其实里头可能会有一些过患，那过患可能就藏在那个角落里面，可能就会滋长我们内心的一些就我们。然后或者是如果当我们去称赞别人的时候，其实有可能是我们背后有很多的就是隐含的动机。所以如果当就是随喜他人被称赞，或者是随喜他人去称赞别人的话，这样是没有任何过患的，因为它是免于一切的不清净的动机。
Yeah, so here's Shantideva says in verse 3 on 7 of 70, line 3 of 77. It says, "This is urged upon us by all the holy ones, the Buddhas." They praise. They say you should try to figure out. You should try to develop the capacity to rejoice in when other people are praised, when other people are benefited, because that kind of joy is free from the dangers of you being the recipient of praise, or you doing the praising. And then he is not above or beyond using also more mundane reasons. He says, and also your ability to do this is a perfect way of winning others. So he says, even if you have an agenda, think of it this way, he says, that when you develop the capacity to really rejoice in others' happiness, in others' success, and especially if those others are known to be your enemies, or people you don't like, when other people see that, they're usually really impressed, even surprised or shocked, like, oh, like how can you, feel that way? Then you're like, well, it's only to my advantage if I feel that way. Of course, it is not normal at all. I can tell you that. It's not normal at all. It's not so easy. But nonetheless, Shantideva wants us to consider how this makes sense. So the first step is to be persuaded by Shantideva that this makes sense. So this is the contemplating part. So first we learn, right? The wisdoms, the three types of wisdoms that arise, the type that arise from learning, listening, like what we're doing now, then reflecting, contemplating. Does this make sense? Right? And then you see, well, yeah, this is a good strategy. Yeah? So in terms of making sense, right? Sometimes we overthink this. We want to think about, abstract things. Like, how does this match with truth with a capital T? How does this match with, absolutely true or not true? We don't need to go there. The reflecting here only needs to be on, does this make sense as a skillful strategy to protect our heart, to encourage the growth of qualities and virtues? If we see that this really makes sense, right? Then the third, implementing, which is often called meditating. But meditating can simply mean implementing. Now, let's put this into practice.
那就是在77偈吉天菩萨就说，其实这样的一个行径是诸佛都称赞的，这是77的第3句，而诸佛都会这样赞许，而且这个是一个对摄受他人来说最理想的一个方式。然后哪怕是你有任何的想法想要，或者是你有任何的动机考虑培养这样的一种能力去随喜他人的成功，特别是我们的敌人，其实会带来非常多的利益。当别人看到我们这么做的时候，他们会感到非常的诧异，也会非常的就是觉得非常的不简单。当然这样是不太正常，也不太平常，也不太容易，但是吉天菩萨就是希望我们可以考虑这是不是合理。所以在这边首先我们要去考虑到底吉天菩萨提出的这样的一个建议是否合理，然后那就是从整个就是修行的次第来说，从闻思修，从听闻我们去学习吉天菩萨这样的一个教导，然后我们再去反思去省思到底这个是不是合理的。然后合理就是说我们它是不是能够发挥作用，我们是不是真的能够从中得到利益，而不是一味的就思维就停留在就和一些很抽象的一些概念，就是说是不是和真理是否符合这样的一个层面去思考，并不是，而是去思考说这样是不是能够帮助我们去培养更多的功德，然后去减少我们自己的这个烦恼。如果是的话，我们就把它落实在生活中。
And so in the next verse 78, Shantideva kind of puts it in a way that we can all relate to, sort of like in very mundane. So if appealing to his audience's kind of higher noble aspirations is a little maybe distant, maybe feels a little distant, right? He says, let's take it into very practical terms. He says, okay, now you say, but they're the ones who will have the happiness. Meaning like when someone else is being praised, someone else is being promoted, someone else, and again, especially if those someone else are people we don't like. Yeah, because if this is happening to people that we like, that we really care about, we are like, this is so wonderful, wow, let's go celebrate, But so this is particularly those that we don't like, right? Then we're like, there must be like corruption, this praise is not even sincere. We have like things like this, right? Or he says, you say, why should I be happy? Why should I be happy for them? They're the ones who will have the happiness, not, how does that benefit me? And so Shantideva says, if this then is a joy you would resent, I'm reading from the translation I have here. It says, if this then is the joy that you resent other people having, your attitude is like, it's them that is enjoying, not me. Then he says, well, in that case, stop paying wages. That means, people who work for you, stop paying them. See what happens. And stop returning favors. People doing nice things to you, you don't repay because you say, well, it's not me. It's them having the wages. It's them having these favors. I'm not going to give to them. His point is, you keep behaving like this. No one wants to be around you. So he says, you'll be a loser this life, next life.
那现在就是78系，我们可以看到就是我们可能就是说，就他是获得快乐的人，而不是我们。那如果说我们为什么要为了他人的快乐感到快乐？如果我们就是去讨厌他人得到快乐的话，那么就他就举一个例子，就是说，那么别人为你工作的话，那你就不要给别人酬劳。那如果别人对你好的话，就你也不要去回报他。然后这样的话，那到最后可能就只会成为一个人，无论是这一辈子或者是下一辈子。
Here, Shantideva is not addressing the general public, you know. He's addressing, hey, those of you who have taken the Bodhisattva vow, those of you who have made the resolve to practice the Bodhisattva way, he says, especially you guys. So it's in a way, you know, I think it's sort of, you know, to me, you know, it's like, okay, you know, don't get too disappointed, you know, if you think, oh, I still have these feelings, I still behave like this. Know that, you know, in a way, it's normal to have these feelings. That's not the real problem. The problem is to not recognize these feelings as impairments, these feelings as blockages, these feelings as hindrances, and not work on removing these feelings, these attitude. So this is, to me, more important here. It's not the fact that we still have these feelings. It's having these feelings, having these attitudes, having these kinds of behavior, despite how we see. And we see the logic of bodhicitta, we're inspired by bodhicitta, we have formally given rise to bodhicitta, we want to achieve the result of the bodhisattva path, but nonetheless, these kinds of attitudes can sneak up, can turn up. The fact that they still happen is not really where the bad news is. The bad news is not recognizing them as hindrances and faults. That's the bad news. So here, Shantideva wants us to see that and see those faults and work on removing those faults. So here, 79, it says, when praise is heaped upon your own qualities, you're so keen that everybody agrees, everybody is happy. Yes, 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 oh yes, hun, really good, oh wonderful, doing so well, oh wow. You're like, yes, 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 you know, let's hope more people see this, let's hope more people understand this, you know, like how many likes did I get, you know, all of that, right? But when the compliment is paid to others, you feel no inclination to rejoice as well. So you look at other people's Facebook, you know, you're like, yeah, all those likes, you know, they probably paid someone to click those likes. You know? Or yeah, just a lot of people click because, you know, they like this person to like them because this person has a fancy title. Oh, so then people just like, and they're not even really listening to what this person is saying. So those are the things that come, you know. He says, you know, look, you know, despite we have taken the Bodhisattva vow, despite we want to liberate all sentient beings, these crazy things still turn up.
在这一边，基本上吉天菩萨并不是对着就一般的大众来说这一番话，而是他的对象是我们这一些已经受持了菩萨戒、发愿想要行菩萨道的人。然后其实在这一边就最主要并不是说当我们发现自己有这样的一种状况、这样的问题的时候感到沮丧，那不是真正的问题。真正的问题其实是我们不懂得去察觉、去辨识到这样的一种情绪，这样的一种心情其实是一种障碍，而我们也没有去除它，没有努力想要去去除它。就实际上这样的一种行为，哪怕是我们已经看到升起菩提心的逻辑，哪怕我们就是被菩提心就是启发，但是这样的一种行为，这样的一种态度还是一样会发生。它并不是什么坏事，而是让我们看清我们的就是在这个过程里面这样的一种态度，它的过患，我们认清它的过患，然后我们有动力想要去除它。那就在79偈的时候，其实就会提到，就当别人称赞我们的时候，我们也会想他人都快乐，但是当他人称赞敌人的功德的时候，然后反而我们就会心里酸溜溜的，然后我们其实心里面就会有非常多的念头，非常多的这样的一种就在编造剧场。我们要认清之后，我们要去对峙它。
So verse 80, Shantideva reminds us, you who want the happiness of beings have wished to be awake for their sake. So why should others irk you when they find some pleasure for themselves? He's saying, how in the world do we get so petty? On the one hand, all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, blah, 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 blah. He says, you've taken that vow, Then you see your enemies, so to say, or people you don't like, getting more likes than you. You're like, I don't know. Some monkey business is going on. Sometimes it's not even people you don't like, Sometimes even people you like. People you care for, you're like, I don't know. They're just lucky, they get so many praises. So, Shantideva says, hello? You say you want to work for the happiness for all beings, So why can't you rejoice in people finding some pleasure for themselves? And even that, sometimes we are very judgmental. We see someone having some pleasure. Yeah, even if the pleasure you say, is not from what you would consider a skillful kind of pleasure, a pleasure that will get them in trouble, We got to see, how often it is that we are actually not happy that they're having a good time. And therefore, marshalling some self-righteousness that they're having a good time? Or are we really concerned that their way of having a good time is going to lead them into trouble? It's a very fine line.
那第80偈就吉天菩萨提醒我们是一边就发了一个想要为了利益一切众生，然后发起这样的菩提心的人，但是另外一边就是当众生他们获得一定就是自身的快乐的时候，为何我们反而去嗔怒，反而感到不高兴呢？那非常的自相矛盾。然后可能心里面就会有非常多的想法，就认为那都是他们幸运，然后就可能背地里有非常多的暗箱操作之类的东西。 然后我们心里面的那种酸溜溜的一些念头跟想法就非常的泛滥，然后有时候并不只是对于我们不喜欢的人，甚至对于我们喜欢的人，当他们就感到快乐的时候，我们可能也是一样，心里面会有其他的一些念头。那在这一边，吉天菩萨就是提醒我们，我们所发的是怎么样的愿，那为何我们不能够为众生的快乐而感到快乐呢？有时候可能在我们的认知里面，那样的快乐并不善巧，然后我们就会非常的具有批判性，就是去认为他这样是不合理的、不理想。然后其实很多时候是基于我们的烦恼，然后我们以这样来伪装，然后就产生了很多的自我的正义，然后是不是对方的这样的一种快乐，其实是会造成任何的状况，其实是非常微妙的，我们很难下定论。
So verse 81, it says, continuing from 80, and if you claim to wish that beings be enlightened, if you claim that you made the vow that beings become awake, honored by the triple world, but when petty marks of favor come their way, why are you so discomforted?
那第81季基本上和80季一样，就是当初我们就是希望众生能够成佛，然后能够得到快乐，但是现在他们已经得到一定的快乐，那为何我们还要去嫉妒呢？
So this is related to, the problem here is related to what we might call poverty mind, the hungry ghost mind.
这一边和我们的心，就是一个贫乏的心有关系。
I don't have enough. I'm not good enough. So it comes back to that.
然后我拥有的不够，然后我不够好，其实就是在背后的根源。
Rather than, recognizing the diamond that we are, we get carried away by the crud, the things that are covering the diamond.
然后我们就是与其能够辨识到我们内心的这样的一个钻石，却被它外在的这个污泥所就是带走，就转移了我们的视线。
And this path is the path of polishing the diamond that we are.
这个是道，其实就是要不断的去磨银，不断的去磨亮我们的这一个钻石的一条路。
So now let's take a break, and then we'll continue. Yeah.
我们先休息一会儿。
Om Vage Jware Mum Vage Om Vageshware Mum Vageshware
wage jware mum, wage jware mum. Wage jware mum, wage jware mum. Wage jware mum, wage jware mum.
Yeah, so we are back. So before we continue with these verses, let's see if there's any questions, comments, anything to share.
现在开放问题。
Yes. Omar?
Claudia, ¿me escuchas? Gracias, claro. Es más que nada un comentario. Ahora que estuve leyendo hace unas semanas estos versos, justamente hay un verso donde, déjate digo qué verso, donde habla de que si no, ¿por qué no te regocijas cuando los seres son felices, cuando tienen felicidad? Y en especial ese verso, para mí fue como muy confrontativo porque me di cuenta de que cuando había personas que sentían felicidad, pero por cosas como mundanas de alguna manera, pues yo no reconocía como esa felicidad, ¿sabes? Yo sentía como, pues, sienten felicidad, pero no es como una felicidad genuina y demás. Pero al leer este verso, para mí fue como, pues me cayó como el 20 y dije, bueno, pues de alguna manera ya te están ayudando un poquito en el camino. Pues si tú deseas que sean felices todos estos seres, pues si ya te están, al final del día te están quitando trabajo, te están quitando chamba, ¿por qué no también ser feliz con esto? Entonces, pues siento que estos versos son de mucha ayuda y al menos para mí fue, pues muy significativo esos versos.
Yes. Claudia, let's try something. Under the interpretation, are you able to go back into the main room? You're in the English room. Can everybody hear? No. So can you go to go to like off? Do you see off as an option? No off, yeah? Okay. So what about now? Do you see anything? Okay, try speaking. Okay. Okay, no, go ahead. Yeah, just go ahead and then I will repeat. Just trying to figure out how. Yes, yeah. Mhm. Uh-huh. Right. Yes. So I'll repeat, try to summarize. Omar was sharing how these few verses has been very helpful to him as he reads it again and again. Because he says, especially, when I think this applies to all of us, when we're in, especially I would say on days when we're in a very Dharma mode, right? Then we see people experiencing happiness or pleasure, and then we see that, oh, this is like mundane. Then we feel like we feel like we need to like ignore or even like put down the happiness that they're experiencing, and we say, oh, this is just a mundane thing. They don't really know what happiness is. So we fall into that, and he says part of it might be, he's understanding now, might actually be him feeling like, if they are having their happiness, so then I don't have anything to do now. I say I want to bring happiness to beings, so there's all these subtle kinds of things that are going on. There are all these subtle kinds of things going on that just kind of impedes, now is my commentary on that, on that, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, because there's all these little things that come and impede our ability to rejoice and to see that, whether others rightfully or not rightfully, experiencing happiness, the happiness itself that they experience need not be turned into like, me, not me, things like that.
就刚刚有一位同学就分享，然后分享他读到自己一个寄诵的时候，他觉得非常的有用，因为就是现在当我们在平时修行的一种状态的时候，当我们看到别人快乐，然后当我们体验到这一种愉悦的时候，可能心里会有这样的一个念头，认为对方这一些就是世俗的娱乐，然后我们可能就会忽略，然后就把它放下，然后甚至可能是贬低或者是看清这样别人所经验的一切，我们可能很容易就会落入这样的一种状态。其实如果当别人拥有他们的快乐的时候，那可能我就没有什么东西可以干了。所以其实在这样的一种心理状态，它有非常非常微细的一些情绪在转动。然后李博士的回应说，确实在修道的过程中有非常多这一种微细的这一种心理状态，我们是需要去留意，因为它可能会形成我们自己的障碍。然后快乐本身，就是他人所经历的快乐本身，其实没有必要把它就转化为或者是标签为就是我的或者是非我的。就我们应该要怎么样去随喜他人的快乐，我 我们看到这个快乐本身，它可以对于对方的一种帮助。
So 82, totally, I think, points this out. He says, Shantideva says, when dependents who rely on you, to whom you are obliged to give support. So this is saying, in a way, like, you say you have taken the Bodhisattva vow. Now you want to work on achieving Buddha so that you can help others to become Buddhists, to become free from suffering. So in the same way, he says, so when dependents who rely on you, to whom you're obliged to give support, find for themselves the means of livelihood. So they have found some kind of way that don't need you so much, He says, will you not be happy? Why aren't you happy? Why are you upset, Again, he points to the absurdity of our feelings, Our reasoning, most of us are quite capable of being reasonable. It's a matter of whether we want or we don't want to, Most of us are quite capable of being reasonable. But then when these, illogical, unreasonable, mysterious emotions come in, when we see others experiencing happiness, instead of going, oh, wow, now it's easier, my job. More people are experiencing happiness. We're like, well, I don't know.
82计就是可能我们就觉得我已经就是受持了菩萨戒，我要为众生带来快乐，让众生就为众生拔除痛苦。然后但是这样82计就会提到说，当那些依赖我们的人，然后现在他能够自力更生了，那为何我们不高兴反而嗔恚呢？而其实吉天菩萨在这一边要提出的、要点出的是其中我们行为上的荒谬。其实我们很多都有能力，就是可以去就是了解道理，但是当我们看到别人就是经验快乐的时候，却会有这样的一种反弹的一种情绪。其实其中涉及的这样的一种荒谬，其实我们是需要去辨识出来。
And so 83, it says, if even this you do not want for beings, how could you want Buddhahood for them? How can anyone have bodhicitta who is angry when someone else prospers, when someone else is doing well? How can you really have bodhicitta that way?
那83计就是说，如果你都不愿意别人得到利益的话，那他更不用说，就希望他能够证得正觉。然后，如果我们妒忌他人，就是过得很富贵的话，那怎么可谈菩提心呢？
So in 84, he again uses a line of reasoning, that shows the absurdity of our unreasonable feelings. He says, if someone else receives a gift, or if that gift stays with the giver, that means that the giver did not give and kept it in their house. It says in both scenarios, right? The gift is not yours. So why do you care?
那第84计其实也是就从一个逻辑的角度来推断，来带出我们这样的一种思想，这样的一种念头，它的荒谬。就是说，若以从他的这个礼物，以及从他人的，然后或者是这样的一个利益，依然在这个施主家，然后两者其实都不属于我们的，那跟我们有什么关系呢？干我们什么事？
In fact, the next point he makes is just like, not only in this sense, it will not make a difference to you when whether someone, if someone doesn't give a gift to that someone else, or doesn't give praises to that someone else. In any case, it's not as if they're going to give it to you, right? So he's saying, why do you care? And then the next point, in 85, he's saying, and not only that, when you care in that unskillful way, in other words, when jealousy turns up, you throw away all your merit, you throw away the faith of others, meaning other people's admiration of you, other people's being inspired by you, and your actual sterling qualities because of your jealousy. All those will be thrown away.
那在这边他就是说，实际上就跟我们没有任何关系，无论就是那个礼物，他是不是给我们，或者是那个赞美，他是不是对那个人说，然后就是到最后其实也不一定是要给我们的。那为什么我们要去在意呢？如果我们以这样不善巧的方式去在意，当这个妒忌升起的时候，其实我们不仅毁损我们自己的这样的一个功德，然后我们就他人对于我们的信心，我们其实也把我们自己的这一些特质，然后就转移掉了。就是在85偈里面，就是弃福善、信心及与己德。
Yeah, so he says, and so not holding on to what you have, which is your merit, other people's admiration of you, and those qualities that you have, because through jealousy, you're basically throwing them away. So not holding on to these real riches that you have. Tell me, he says, why aren't you upset at yourself? Yeah, he's not encouraging you to beat yourself up, okay? He's just saying, you're so busy getting angry at other people, being jealous at other people. Can you see that you are destroying your own happiness when you do that?
然后就是我们不懂得怎么去看到我们所拥有的功德，然后别人对我们的信心，或者是我们自身的特质，我们看不到我们真正的这样的一种富足的时候，然后反而就是去嫉妒他人，或者让自己感到难过。然后难道就是我们看不到自己正在摧毁自己的快乐吗？
86, he says, not only do you feel no sorrow for the evils you have done. Evil here means, all the unskillful ways that you have acted that have produced suffering for yourself and others. Not only do you feel no sorrow, you even wish to match yourself with those whose merit has been earned. So you want to, not only do you not feel, regret or sorrow for the unskillful actions that you continue to continue to engage in, but as you do that, you want to get the same kind of happiness as those who actually have been doing things to remove obstacles to true happiness. In other words, he says, how ridiculous are we?
86句就提到说，我们不仅对于自己所造作的这样的一种恶业不感到羞愧，不感到惭愧，反而要去和那一些已经培福，然后已经就是正德的人，然后想要去和他们竞争，然后我们难道看不到其中的荒谬，其中的不合理吗？
So the next section, just 3 verses. Again, in Kempo Kumbel's commentary, he says, this is to exercise kashanti, forbearance, towards obstacles that prevent bad things from happening to enemies. Practicing patience, kashanti, when obstacles that prevent bad things from happening to your enemies turn up. Meaning like, you've been waiting for something bad to happen to your enemies, then some situation, somebody comes along and saves the day for your enemies. Then you're like, I really hate this. He says, at that time, you need to practice kashanti.
那接下来下一个段落就是87、88、89偈，然后这个是 Campbell Campbell 归类为我们要休息安忍，然后对峙的是什么？就是当面对到任何对于我们的敌人发生不好的事情，而去阻扰这一个敌人就是经历不好的事情这样的一个障碍的时候，我们本身要休息安忍。就当我们看到原本我们希望就是我们的敌人可以过得不好，但是却这样的一种期许，就遇到了障碍。那当遇到这样的障碍的时候，我们要休息安忍。
So 87, he says, so if unhappiness befalls your enemies, you get news that, someone that you don't like, people that that you say are enemies, some bad thing has happened to them, and he says, why are you so happy? He says, you're feeling happy, right? It's not going to, kind of make them suffer more. Why take pleasure, like this, he says.
那就是87偈，就是说，就纵然你的敌人感到不悦，或者是他遭遇不如意，那有什么好高兴的？你有什么好高兴的？然后就这个你感到高兴这样的情绪，基本上不会让他更苦。
In other words, he's saying, merely you wishing them bad things isn't actually going to cause them harm.
当时就是你希望他就是倒霉，并不会造成他的伤害。
Now, of course, wishing them bad things and then taking steps to have bad things happen to them, that's different. And here he's saying, your mind like wishing them bad things or getting happy when you receive news that bad things had happened to them. He says, that kind of mindset isn't going to promote your cause, because if you think your cause is to weaken your enemies, your thoughts of that sort will not weaken your enemies in any case, he says.
就是与其就希望的 敌人倒霉这样的一种念头，这样的一种思维，基本上是不会让你得逞的，是不会让你的敌人就真的是倒霉的。
So 88, he says, and if your hostile wishes were to bring them harm, and he says, okay, let's say, yes, merely by you wishing them bad things will actually bring them harm. He says, what cause of joy is that to you? Then he rhetorically, he says, well, then I will be satisfied if they suffer. I like to see them suffer. He says, are these your thoughts? Again, remember, right? He's addressing those who have taken the Bodhisattva vow. He says, hello? Are you now thinking like that? And the last line of verse 88, is anything more ruinous, more harmful than that? Is there anything more harmful than that?
那如果真的我们希望就是敌人倒霉，这样的事情真的发生了，那对他受苦，我有什么好高兴的？如果我的这样的一个愿望真的满足的话，真的得以满足的话，你知道那个那个结果是多么的恐怖嘛？因为毕竟吉天菩萨现在说法的对象是那些已经受持了菩萨戒的人，然后如果这个希望众生受苦这样的一个愿望它成型的话，其实它会带来非常大的一个伤害，对自身带来非常大的伤害。
And a stern reminder, verse 89. Oh, this is a good one. You should write it somewhere and put it in a strategic place. A place that we know we often get in trouble, wherever that might be. He says, caught by the hook, like a fish, caught by the hook, unbearable and sharp, cast by the fisherman, my own defilements. Who traps us? Who catches us? The fisherman of our mental defilements. Our mental, emotional defilements, that which covers, that which stains our otherwise innately pristine mind. When we are caught like that by these mental defilements, we'll be flung into the cauldrons of the pit, the burning cauldrons, these big pots of hot water like the witches, and surely boiled by the janitors of hell. The guards of the hell realms will be boiling us in these cauldrons, poetically speaking.
这第89偈是一个非常就是严肃的一个提醒，就是吉天菩萨这一边提醒我们，就是如果当我们被这样的这个渔夫为这个渔夫是一个譬喻，就是说这个嗔心的渔夫，他的钩所执的话，那会让我们其实这个钩。就当我们被困在这样被这个嗔心的钩所执的话，那就是因为我们的这个烦恼就是覆盖了我们这个内在的心性，所以让我们看不清楚。如果我们这样被受困的话，我们会轻易的被丢到这个地狱中，然后受狱卒监阻。
Yeah, so elsewhere, Shantideva says, those enemies that we have, the worst they can do is to ruin this life and kill us. But the real enemy of the mental defilements, the harm that they will cause to us, is lifetime and lifetime and lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of being flung into the hell realms.
那在其他部分呢，吉天菩萨也曾经提过说，就是我们的敌人最多只能够就最大能够伤害我们的地方，其实就是杀了我们，就是这一辈子杀了我们。但是我们的烦恼可以造成的伤害，是可以生生世世让我们就是陷入地狱之苦中。
And so some of us, even just within this body, have lived many, many lifetimes of the hell realms already.
然后有些人可能就是只是在这一期生命里面就已经经历了无数次的这个地狱的一种经验。
Because when we're experiencing ill will, when we're experiencing resentment, when we're experiencing anger, in those moments, we're already in the hell realms.
那因为就是如果当我们就是升起嗔心或者是嗔恨或者是嗔恚的时候，在那一刻我们就如置身于地狱。
When we experience, poverty mind, not enough, not good enough, comparing with others, and on, poor me. People are going out of their way to deprive me for what I deserve, what I should get, all of that. And then we are living in the realm of hungry ghosts.
那如果我们经历的就是一个贫乏的心，就常常觉得不够，我们不够好，或是不断的和他人比较，然后就觉得自己非常的可怜，然后别人就造成我的所有的损害，我们应该得到的就别人造成我们的损害，这样的心境就如同置身于恶鬼道中。
So we need to recognize who the true enemies are, so to say. The true enemies are the mental defilements, are the afflictive emotions, the kleshas.
所以我们应该要辨识出到底真正的敌人是什么，那是我们的烦恼。
The next section is from verses 90 to 111. This section Khenpo Kumpel identifies as exercising, practicing Kshanti towards those who prevent us from reaching our desires.
然后就是下一个段落，就是从第90偈到111，然后是 Khenpo Kumpel 归类为就我们在怎么样的一个状况下要休息安忍，那就是对于那些防止我们达到我们想要的目的的这样的一些对象。
Yeah, so we will start that section on Tuesday.
然后我们星期二的时候才开始这一个段落。
So today we will end a little bit earlier.
然后今天我们早一点
But
结束。
again, if let's see, in case anyone has any questions or comments before we actually end.
我们在结束前，如果大家有什么问题或者是想要评论的，然后也欢迎大家提出来。
If not, let's do the Bodhichitta dedication. And then I will see all of you, as many of you as are able to, this coming Tuesday.
好，那我们现在一起来回向。
长住三处仁波切，马ge巴南ge yu切，ge巴念巴me pa yang，共内共度别玩说。Okay, you all have a good weekend. I'm now back in Asheville. This is supposed to be a very nice weekend, so you should rejoice in my nice weather. And I will remember to dedicate this enjoyment to you.
阿里博士分享说，就是这个星
Gracias,
期
Dr. Lai.
就他所处的地方应该天气很好，
Yes.
所以大家应该随时
Bye bye.
他的好天气。
You'll be well.
Thank you.
Gracias, Claudia.
Gracias, Claudia. 谢谢 waiting.
Dr. Lai, thank you very much.
Yeah, good night.
Bye.